So you want to know how to become an FNI manager? Take my advice. First of all, you got to know what FNI managers do. And it's not just make additional money, okay? Additional profit. It's not just sell stuff. Not like a sales position. In fact, FNI is a lot different than selling cars. Because with a car, selling a car, it's a tangible item. What does that mean? That means it's a physical item. People can touch it, feel it. There's the sensors that are involved. When you get an FNI, you're selling the invisible. Products that the customer has no instant gratification on. They can't see it, they can't smell it, they can't touch it, all right? They may anticipate using it in the past, but the fact is, selling an F&I is a lot different than selling cars. But that's not necessarily what F&I managers do. F&I managers do a lot, okay? And they do more than most in the dealership. I mean, think about it. What do F&I managers do? They secure financing. And that's not an easy job, okay? They have to have relationships with lenders. F&I managers, what do? They hold profit on the deal. They don't lose money. As I mentioned, they make additional profit. They solidify the deal. They have the customer sign, yes, okay, I'll take the car. They deliver vehicles. That's what F&I managers do. They build relationships with customers. They build relationships with banks. That's what F&I managers do. They lead their sales team. That's what F&I managers should do. Oftentimes they just sit in their office and wait for things to happen. But great F&I managers, what do? They get out in the trenches with the sales consultants and they help the sales consultants close deals and they get involved in the deals early and they communicate with customers throughout the sales process. That's what F&I managers do. And what role does the F&I manager play in a dealership? That's the role they play. They play the role of a manager, F&I manager. Think about it. Many of the F&I managers come off the sales floor, they go into F&I and they forgot that they're a manager. They got to manage people. That's one of the things. That's one of their roles and responsibility. Another role and responsibility they have is CITs, contracts in transit. They got to make sure the deals get funded, that all the paperwork is right, that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. They're responsible for compliance, ethics and compliance. They got to keep the dealership in safe harbor to protect not only the dealer principal themselves, but the entire dealership. And they're responsible and they have a role in CSI, customer satisfaction. Because after all, the last person that the customer is going to see is the F&I manager. So if you think F&I is only selling stuff, you're not going to become a good F&I manager. If you want to become an F&I manager, you got to realize what F&I managers do and the role and responsibilities that they play in a dealership. And it's not just selling stuff. I can guarantee it. Because the F&I managers that all they focus on is selling stuff don't last long in the industry. The F&I managers that become F&I managers for the right reasons, get certified and learn about ethics and compliance and learn word tracks and learn how to hold customers, satisfaction intact. Those are the F&I managers that go far in their career. So if you want to become an F&I manager, you got to learn the trade, not the tricks of the trade. And that's how you become an F&I manager in a dealership. Now I want you to think about this. F&I managers are among the highest paid individuals in dealerships today. Period, bar none. They make more money than the average sales consultant. They make more money than the general sales manager. And sometimes, which I think is crazy, they make more money than the general manager. Why is that? They do have responsibility. As I mentioned, their role and responsibility is not just additional profit. They have that responsibility to keep the dealership in safe harbor. So you have to learn about ethics and compliance. You have to know the rules, the laws, and the regulations. Ethics, that's your moral compass. Just because you have a right to do it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. And you have to follow the culture of your dealership, the philosophy of your dealership, okay? That's what F&I managers do, and that's their role. And if you do that, you're gonna make a ton of money. I know F&I managers that make an excess of $200,000 a year. And that F&I position, as I mentioned in other videos, it's career advancement, it's job security. So how do you become an F&I manager? Learn the things I just talked about. What skills does it take to become an F&I manager? You don't necessarily have to have a high school diploma. You should graduate high school, become an F&I manager. You should have selling skills, no question about it, because as I mentioned, it may not be selling F&I is different than selling cars, but you still have to sell, okay? You have to have skills to sell intangible items, selling the invisible. It's a different approach because you're not touching the senses like you would if you were to sell a physical item. You have to talk to the customer differently. New ABCs of selling I often talk about. Get in the tune with your customer, get inside your customer's head so you can have perspective talking. You learn things from their perspective. Empathy's good, but perspective talking's better. You can fake empathy. Yeah, I understand exactly how you feel. I've had other customers feel the same way. But to get inside the customer's head from their perspective as to why they're refusing to purchase products or as to why they're going to their own bank, bank because after all, you have to secure the financing. You have to convert the customer from financing outside the dealership and sometimes paying cash, convert them to a lease or financing in-house. That's what the F&I managers do. And when you know that and you go into the F&I position knowing that, you become a better F&I manager. So those skills are important. And where do you get those skills? They're not going to just be handed to you. You have to seek them out. So you have to get really friendly with an F&I manager, a good F&I manager. You have to let the dealer principal know that you have aspirations to move up the ladder. And the first step you want to go into is F&I because you feel that F&I is a stepping stone to career advancement, because you feel that you can take on the responsibility of an F&I manager, because you know the roles of an F&I manager. And maybe in your particular dealership, the F&I manager that's in the dealership or F&I managers that are in the dealership are not fulfilling their responsibility, are fulfilling their roles. And now you have an opportunity to step in. That's how you become an F&I manager. You let everybody in that dealership know that you are knowledgeable about F&I, that you know what F&I managers do, and you're willing to do those things that great F&I managers do. You're more than willing to take on that responsibility, the CSI responsibility, the compliance responsibility, the additional profit responsibility. You're ready to do it. You're ready to handle it. You're ready to make sure that every car that gets in front of you, that every piece of paperwork that gets in front of you is dotted and the T's are crossed, and those cars are busting bugs and on the road, because that's what you want to do. You let everybody know that, and that's how you become an F&I manager. But more importantly, you got to be trained, okay? And I know a lot of sales consultants who invested their own money to seek out training companies to train them and certify them. We train you at Product Prep, there's no question about it, but there's a number of training companies out there. And what you need to do some research on them. Some are online, some are in-house, some you got to go travel, some spend a week in a place, some you spend 2 weeks in a place, sometimes you spend 6 months in a place. There's a lot of different ways to get educated in F&I, but the one thing you should do, and sometimes you have to invest in yourself, seriously, definitely want to get certified. And there's a number of certification programs out there. In fact, Product Prep has a certification program. Product Prep does regular webinars. Product Prep will also personalize things, as many other companies will. But check us out. There's a link right down there, www.prodprep.com. Look us up, man. You'd be surprised what we offer at Prod Prep. Well, anyways, getting back to how to become an F&I manager. Know what F&I managers do. And if you don't know what they do, figure out what they do. Learn what they do. Read about what they do. And share your knowledge of what they do with everybody that's involved and putting you in the position of F&I. What role does F&I manager play in the dealership? They play a heavy role. They play one of the biggest roles of all the associates in that dealership. They have more responsibility than anybody on that showroom floor outside of the general manager. Seriously, they have a lot of responsibility. And they are trained. They are certified. And once they're trained, and once they're certified, and once they realize what they do and what their role and responsibilities are, and they fulfill what they do, and they fulfill their role and responsibility, they can make a ton of money. So make sure you get trained. Plenty of training out there. Plenty of certification programs out there. And they range in price, and they range in quality. Do some research. And if you want to give me a call personally, Gerry Gould, just look me up. You'll find me on LinkedIn. My numbers are everywhere. But if you like what you heard, visit us at www.prodprep.com. And until next time, go get 'em.